going to start off with a presentation from our friends at Goddard Options. So Goddard Options Center Institute is basically one of the leading trainers in college access and success across New York City. So they train not only young people like yourselves, but they also do a lot of training for the adults that work in high schools and in colleges, helping students succeed to and through college. So we're very lucky to have them here. We're very happy to have them here. And what they're going to work with you guys on this morning is communication skills. So how do you communicate with students to really get the things out of them that you need? So like if you need to get information from them, if you need to motivate them, if you need to just build a good trusting relationship, how do you do that with the students that you're working with? And so those are the kinds of things, I can't talk this morning, that we're going to talk about this morning, okay? Before or as they're getting started, Reggie's actually going to pass out a handout. So remember yesterday we did the obstacles and best practices, our solutions. Remember that? All of our master lists. What we did is we made one master sheet with all of the obstacles you guys came up with and then all of the solutions. It has a 3-hole punch, so we want you guys to put this in your binders. So if these things come up throughout the semester or throughout the year, you have sort of like a reference. Okay?
So I just add one thing, we left extra space so that you can add in other solutions to those obstacles as you learn them. So there might be programs you learn about over the course of this week that you want to add in. So use this as like a working guide.
Awesome.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How was the icebreaker?
Great.
Looked good. It looked pretty hard, so I'm glad I didn't participate. Keeps it fresh. Well, my name is Chano Lavoy, and as Courtney explained, we're from the Options Center, College Access Center. I am a trainer and college access counselor there at Options. And with me today is
Debbie Fuller, and I'm the director of the, we call it the Institute, it's a training arm of that. Are you guys familiar with Options? Anybody know the program?
So that's us. That's where we're from, right? I just want to get a sense of who's in, where you guys are from, the room. So how many people are here from City Tech? All right, yeah, you can call out, you can shout out. How many people from Hostos? Okay, we got some. I'll be Mr. Obvious right now and say, who's from BMCC? Yeah! Who else? We got anybody from LaGuardia? Okay. I was from BCC. All right. Anybody else? Am I missing anyone else? Queensboro. I don't. Okay, good. All right. One is better than none, right? Okay, so as it says up here, we're going to talk about communication skills. How many people, does anybody think they're a pretty good communicator? We'll see. I'm sure a lot of you guys are, right? That's why you want to do this kind of work. What we're really talking about is not evaluating whether people are good or bad. It's about saying, what are some techniques that we could build on and learn? What are some things that we already do and just how to take stock of it? Like notice what we already do when we go and communicate with students, right? Or anybody else for that matter. Yes? Listening?
Would be a good communicator to be able to have great listening.
I agree. All right, so hold on to that. So we're going to get into that stuff, and that's a big part of it, right? So just to break down today a little bit, we are thinking about what makes somebody an effective helper. And as a success leader, that's what you are, right? You're a form of helper. There's many forms of helpers. We're going to talk about some of the common communication responses. So I have a look at that, like what some of those things are, kind of breaking down, the good or the bad about them. Think about giving proper feedback, right? What's the most effective way to do it? Because there are some good ways to do it, and there's some not so good ways to do it. And we're going to do some practicing case scenarios. So having the role play, so to speak, right? You're the success leader, someone else is the student, and we'll give that some practice. All right? Any questions on today? We clear? Okay, right. All right, so the first thing I want to think about is a time that you received help with something, right? So this could have been help around college. It could have been help riding a bike, learning how to bake some cookies, anything, right? So different stakes level or consequences, different types of things. But the first thing I want you to think about is when you received that help, and when somebody was a good helper, how were they a good helper? What did they do? What were the characteristics that they brought to the table? Yes, sir.
They were very empathetic.
Very empathetic. All right. How did you know
I can't even spell that.
that?
They could understand how you feel instead of saying, I know how you feel. They can make you feel that they understand and that you're not the only one who knows what it feels like to go whatever you're going through. Yes, that's how you spell it.
Something like that.
Okay, right. So you had the sense that they were really reading it.
Yeah. Very
This is what this person's
empathetic.
going through.
Patient?
Patient. Yes.
Very supportive, like letting them know, like, I understand you're going through a hard time, but I just want to share something with you. You're not alone. I'm here with you.
Okay. So that's good. So there's a lot of examples in there that you knew they were supportive.
Like, very supportive.
Supportive.
What else?
Perspective. It gives me perspective on what type of choice I should make in the situation I'm in.
Yeah, it's a lot of perspective. That's good.
Understanding.
Understanding. How did they show you their understanding?
Like you see, like I'm India too, I know that people go through that situation.
Okay. So some of it was the empathetic stuff, right? Calling back to moments where you relate. Like it. Okay. Did I miss somebody here? Okay.
How about guidance? For example, when you're lost and somebody helps you to the right direction, it also ties in with patience because they're taking time out of their day to help you.
All right. So they're a good guide, right? That's good.
Motivational. They show you like, well, I know you can't do it right now, but at the end of me helping you, you will be able to do it, and we'll get through it together.
Okay.
Okay.
Very encouraging, right? I like that. What else they do? We missing anything? Yeah.
Attentive.
Attentive.
They
Very
paid,
important.
paid attention to you. Who said that? Where? So how do you know they were attentive?
Because they're alert. It's like they understand what you're saying, and they're giving you actual feedback and not brushing you away.
Okay, great.
Informative, it gave me information that I needed in order to go along the right path.
How'd you know you needed it? Just one message.
How did I know I needed it?
Yeah.
Because I used it and it was official.
All right, so the results were like, okay, they had something there. They knew something, right? All right, cool. Anything else? We covered the gamut pretty much. Right. The last one. Pretty good. All right.
Going once?
So we got a lot of good ones, right? And we're talking about patient people, supportive. We knew that they were actually paying attention to what we're saying, right? So if we're thinking now, when we had a bad helper, what were those characteristics? What did people do that was bad?
Basically, opposite of everything I'm at.
Yeah, basically. but
Sure.
Do it in words.
Yeah.
Very dismissive.
Dismiss
Okay.
it, that's good.
Yeah.
Discouraging.
Okay. How did they do? Like, what were some things, if you can remember? Like, what made you feel discouraged?
Like that's making them a bad way,
Okay. So it was very like punitive, like focus on the bad, right? Condescending. Right. Sending. You can spell that one. Those computers, man.
Spell check. Somebody else in here. Yeah.
Selfish.
Selfish. Okay. So what did they do? If you remember an example.
Like you have to help someone and you say that I got my problem and I can't do nothing.
Like that, right? So it's like it's more becoming about them, right? I get my own stuff. I'm gonna compare the two of us. Yeah.
like blaming. You know, I tried to give you the help, but it was your fault that you failed, you know? Because I helped you all that I could, and you didn't take my advice, so you felt like yourself.
You remember that pretty vividly. Yeah. But that's, blaming you, right?
Persuasive. Like, somebody could try to persuade you to do something, but that's not really what you want to do.
it's persuasive, but even more the pressure, right? The persuasion is high pressure, right? Do it my way. Yeah, kind of like this guy up here. Yep. Control. All right, let me get one here. Yes.
Discouraging.
Okay. So the discouraging. I think we got that. What was something that happened?
When I was filing for my financial aid, like my first year in high school, I said in high school, what? Like my first year when I was filing for financial aid, when I went to the financial aid office, the lady that attended to me, she doesn't even look like she wanted to help me. She was just there like, do you want kind of look. So that's what
Yeah. Right. So it's even like a bad energy in it, right? It really doesn't get the vibe that they want to help. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Overall, just rude.
True. Right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, right? Something we can get in the financial aid office sometimes. Yep. Yes, sir.
Manipulating?
Okay. So along that bad persuasion kind of vibe? Yeah.
So that helper does it for you instead of teaching you and helping you to learn how to do it.
So for you. All right. What was it? Okay. All right. So they're judging. Yeah. We have more bad than good. I remember those. Yeah.
Unnecessarily easy to look down upon you, like you're less than them.
Okay, and we had that, right? So yeah, it's just this vibe that, right, you come to help, come to me for help, and I'm like, yeah, you need help, right? That's pretty, nobody wants that. That's constant, yeah.
When they're constantly glowing, and like you're trying to, for example, come to my friend like, hey, I'm homeless and I'm going through this, and they're like constantly telling you, yeah, I have my house, like I have a pool, 30,000 residents,
Wow, yeah. Okay. So that is kind of sucks to be you sort of thing, right? They're like, yeah, let me tell you what I got. All right, that's that. So what did you say? It was sort of like. Anything else? We cover it. Any last ones?
Can we okay, my not understanding.
Okay.
Because for me, I feel like sometimes it might be like parents, like sometimes you tell them something, but they prioritize what they think more than what you think, just with a child.
Right. So kind of, right, a lot of the stuff we cover, right, they're condescending, but this sort of, right, like you're in a lower bar, you're younger.
Yeah.
Okay, want to take a last one?
Yeah, frustration. Like, you know what I'm saying, when you help someone, going back to the good one, you gotta have like a lot of patience. You can't just get frustrated just quick just because something kind of went your way.
Okay. So frustrated, right? They didn't hang in there too much.
Yeah.
Alright. So I know we could probably go on for a week with this, right? If you think about all the negative or positive kind of help that we received. But I think we covered a lot of key things, right? And why would we do this, right? If we're thinking about how other people helped us. What do you think?
Isn't it because like we helping? So if we be mindful on how like bad things that like things we do, if it's more on the bad side or on the good side. Because if we get to the bad side on everything they're saying there, we're not helping. We're just making the person like until he's getting help.
I was gonna say that when you're helping somebody, you have to think that the person, that's how if that person is receiving the help that I'm giving. Is it like, am I being like a good helper or a bad helper based on the way that I talk to that person, or based on the way that I act when I'm talking to them? My attitude and everything, I have to think like the person that I'm helping, like how is it going to receive my help?
Yeah.
Think about the long effect and what's going to happen in the future, and like if the help will be good for them or bad.
Yeah, those are great points, right? Because it's like, how did that bad help that I received way back sort of affect me going forward with this? If I do the same, or if I'm not careful. Right. So that's a lot of it, right? So we're starting to just, today we're taking stock of what we do, right? We're giving some titles to it, thinking about what works, what doesn't work, right? And there are some things, and you guys pointed out a lot of these, right? That these are characteristics, and some of this is coming from a psychologist, Carl Rogers. Right? I don't know if some of you guys are studying psychology, right? You might have heard of this guy, right? Yeah, thumbs up. Right, so some of these ideas, right, from his sort of school of thought, was thinking that to be an effective helper, you really need to show some of these characteristics, right? And some of you pointed them out as a good helper. So one of the first ones we talked about is unconditional positive regard. Anybody want to take a guess at that? What do you think? What does that sound like? Does it not sound like emergency?
Remaining positive or optimistic throughout the entire, time of either giving advice or helping someone. A lot of times your attitude or your tone really determines how the person feels in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty good, right? That captures a lot of it, right? And unconditional positive regard, it's like if I'm working with a student and I show them this, right? It means that I'm always there to show support. I'm always trying to be the most effective helper that I can be, regardless of what that person is doing or saying. Right? So if you think about that for a minute, so say maybe the student says something that I don't agree with. Maybe they do something that wasn't particularly what I wanted them to do. Maybe they miss an appointment. But I'm not going to change the way that I go about working with the person, right? Or to be more specific, the kind of support. I'm going to continue to think about their best interests, continue to think about their well-being, and try to be the best helper I can be, right? Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with everything that they say or do, or even pretend to, right? I can still bring up some stuff and say, you're missing your appointments, and that doesn't work so well. So let's talk about how we can both take this seriously. But what it means is that I'm not going to sort of change the type of person that I am with them, right? So I'm looking at you two guys. So here's an example, right? If you start to miss some appointments, you do something that kind of ticks me off, and now I'm acting really shady with you, right? I continue to meet with you, but I'm like, whatevs. I'm not putting my full effort into this, right? I'm not talking to you so politely. But you, on the other hand, you always do everything I like, right? Over here. So I'm going to put my full attention, be my best helper with him, but when it comes to you, I'm a half, right? Half-ass helper, okay? And so when we're doing unconditional positive regard, we're avoiding doing that, right? Even if it's difficult with you, I have to come in with my full support and figure out how we're going to make things work. Pretty clear? Can we get down with that?
Yeah.
Genuineness, you guys know what that is, right? We want to come from an honest place. Even if the feedback or advice that we have to give to somebody isn't exactly what they wanted to hear, right? If we're doing it from an honest place, it's a lot better, right, than being dishonest. Because you can tell when people are full of crap. Empathetic, you guys pointed out, right? So we want to imagine, right? What's this person going through? Try to put ourselves in their shoes, even if we can't really relate to what they're going through. How might this be affecting them? Right? And think about it that way. So these are sort of key characteristics that if we're going to go into it, we have to practice if we're going to be an effective helper. And some of the ways that we do our best work as a helper is following some of these characteristics, right? The person, we put the person in the driver's seat. And when I say the person, it's right, who are we helping? That student. So we're going to put them in the driver's seat, meaning it's getting into the idea that we're letting that person take ownership of their process to getting where they want to get. Right? And it's very important because we're also getting away from a sort of old school idea that says, I'm the all-knowing expert and I'm going to come in and fix something. I don't know all the answers, I'm not going to come and fix somebody. I'm trying to set up the environment that's going to help that person realize their own potential. Are they clear? Right, if anything's unclear, you have a question, you disagree, just raise your hand. Right? So we're putting them in the driver's seat, and the other thing is success is ultimately up to that person. People cool with that? The student we're working with, ultimately they're going to define what their success is. So they might go to a school, they might do a major, do some type of work that it wasn't exactly what I had in mind for them, but if they feel like that's the successful thing, right, that's where they want to be, I have to sort of respect that. Right? Maybe my first idea from you was different, but now you've got to this place. This is what you're calling success at the moment. You know, I got to acknowledge. Right? Maybe that's where you're good right now. And last but not least, we got to pay attention to what the person is saying. This sounds obvious, but do we always do that? Do people always do that, right? What gets in our way, right? If we're supposed to give somebody our full attention, but we're not. What's going on upstairs? Like for instance, what'd you say? Your phone, right? So for instance, like if you didn't fully pay attention to when I was talking about some of the bullet points, what was going on? Right? Maybe it's the phone. We have gadgets that get in our way.
Sometimes you have your own thoughts on the issue, so you don't bother listening to the person. I already know this, like, oh, yeah, you just didn't wake up on time. So you just like tune them out, and as soon as they're done, you're like, oh yeah, you didn't wake up on time.
Right.
But they just told you what happened.
Right. So you pointed out a couple things, right? Anybody do some rehearsing when people are talking? We're supposed to be listening. Right? I'm kind of rehearsing with my lines, what I'm going to say, so I'm not really hearing you, as I said. And it could be for different reasons, right? Maybe I'm trying to help and I'm jumping to conclusions. All right, let me figure out what I'm going to tell this person so I can help them. Or maybe, as you said, it's maybe even a little more nefarious, right? I'm kind of trying to pull out something that I want to disagree with. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what they did wrong, right? And then she's going to say this, but I'm going to come back with that. I'm going to top it with this, right? So I'm sort of sparring with you, right, while I should be listening. What else do we do? Any other example? Yes?
Well, me personally, if I start to like think about other stuff, I just focus on looking them in their eye, look at their nose, nod, smile, stuff like that.
Okay, all right. So that's how you kind of pull back? To show that you're listening, or to really listen?
To show them.
Okay. So you're getting, that's really bad, okay. Don't really know what you said, but yeah. And I like the other thing that you pulled up was filtering, right? So sometimes we take something, we run with it, and we miss about the other 90% of what the person was saying, right? I'm gonna cling on to that idea and respond to that. Right? So these are some of these blocks to listening, and you know what? I'm guilty of all those things. I've done all of them. And unfortunately, I'm gonna do them again in the future. And so I'm not saying this to say that if you display any of these characteristics and you're not fully listening, you're an awful, awful helper. But it's that we're trying to just be aware of that internal dialogue, what's going on, what are we doing? And if we're more aware, then we can try to do a better job. I try to catch myself, whoa, you're daydreaming, stop, let's pull back, and let's get refocused, okay? We're not gonna be perfect, but it's understanding. So in your binders, I think if I'm correct here, you have a form that's common communication responses, or counseling responses. Even better. Which one will be? So everybody see this? There's 21. You got one? Yes. All right. Let me know if you don't, because I have to do extras. So just I want to just take a minute to sort of look over them, right, and kind of think about these responses. And if you have any questions on them, right, you should fully understand them. And what this is really kind of a spectrum, right? And some of this may be stuff that you already do, right? And it's from a spectrum. We want to kind of stay obviously away from some of the ones argue, right? That kind of has a negative connotation. So usually when we're being a good communicator, we don't want to start arguing with people. There may be some instances where it could be positive, you know, right? But it's thinking about some of these things, right? How we do them, what effect they might have on people that we're working with. Any questions on these? So let me know, right, if questions come up on them. But some of the things that we're thinking of, if we're communicating, it kind of breaks into 3 categories here, right? One way is we're giving information. It's how we talk to people.